Dr. Susan GITAU. Last year, I had started telling you the story of my life, and I wired it, calling it my trauma story, because trauma is my area of specialization. Most of the clients that I meet and I do very well with are those clients that have been disabled or challenged by post-traumatic stress disorder or traumatic stress. And so when I look at my own life, I have walked through that journey of trauma recovery from my childhood, teenage, young adulthood, and even later adulthood. I can tell you incidences of trauma in my life. Remember, I told you my childhood traumas came from growing up in very demeaning environment, that is the biggest slum in Kiambu County, central Kenya, and all the issues that surrounded my childhood, like going without food or rather basic needs, growing up with an alcoholic mom, growing up with a mentally ill father, growing up with siblings probably that were highly challenged by the environment and they were not there like to support one another or even to support me, growing up without mentors, and growing up with a lot of rejection, self and other rejection. Because one of the things I know for traumatized people, sometimes you suffer shame that is not true, it could be false, rejection that may not be there. You may also disable yourself. You may also kill your dreams without knowing, simply because you are a fragmented human being. And I want to thank God for my training as a teacher. My first degree was in education, commerce and economics. And I went to teach in high schools, and that is where everything came back alive. When I was dealing with these youngsters, I started recalling many things I went through as a young child, as a teenager, because they would bring their issues, and everything that they were telling me, I would identify with a lot of the stuff they were going through. So how did I overcome all that? How did I overcome these traumatic experiences in my life? One of the things is that when I was still teaching as a high school teacher, one of my students in my class, where I was a class teacher, died by suicide. And that caught me by surprise. It made me deal with a lot of guilt for a long, long time. And so I decided to go back to school and study counseling so that I can identify those students that need help. Only for me to get into class. Actually, I didn't even want to go like do a postgraduate with my degree. I just wanted to have skills to deal with day-to-day issues of my students in school. But little did I know that one of the requirements in that course is personal development and personal awareness. And again, another amazing discovery of the child that was. Very broken child, very broken teenager, and of course very broken young adult, because I was. Because for the many things that traumatized people go through, sometimes they are not aware, because your brain does not function the same way. Yes, you may really want to feel like other normal people, but your limbic system is destroyed. So you may have a lot of negative emotions in your life, and basically that translates to negative energy. And we mirror to other people what we are and what we have. So most of the time I could see like people are rejecting me, but ideally it is what lies within me that I have not dealt with that I could see in others. And hatred begets hatred, rejection begets rejection. And so most of the time I never used to keep friends, whether male or female, because anything you did and I would really get sensitive about it. I don't want to see you tomorrow. So, but in this counseling class, I started dealing with me bit by bit, step by step. And until I went into one class, we were calling it a special class on trauma counseling. And I discovered my biggest challenge in life was trauma. And that is when I said, I want to know how to deal with this demon called trauma, or in a very big way, a clinical way, post-traumatic stress disorder, because it's stress that you experience after going through a traumatic moment or experience. like the childhood trauma development issues that I mentioned earlier. I had all of them. Teenage the same, and young adulthood the same. Not to mention the trauma probably I went through during my career period, because I have come from a background in the slum that you always feel everything is unfair, and you become a fighter. Sometimes you fight things that are not there. You fight people who are not even fighting you, and even if they are fighting you, if you are developed, especially in your limbic and prefrontal lobe, very, very well, you would regulate your emotions and you would not react. Probably you would approach situations differently, like I do today. As an adult who has studied counseling psychology up to PhD level, it doesn't mean I have not gone through very painful situations in my adulthood. I have, especially betrayal. And human beings, betrayal is traumatizing, especially when you are betrayed by people that you love most, or people that you have a lot of faith in, or people that you really care about. It is traumatic in itself. I have experienced that in my adulthood, actually, after my 30s, where you sit down and you can't believe that this person has treated you so badly, that this person has treated you so badly. But it's still a process of growth and development, because ideally you should have known better. So basically, I want to touch you that you're watching me. If you grew up in a situation that could have been traumatic for children, I always say it could be a situation of abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, name it, social, name it. You can grow up as a very fragmented person, and you can become very insecure, not only with yourself, but with other people. And what happens is, you get attracted to people who continuously abuse you, and you wonder what's going on. And that is where you start feeling like you're rejected, you start feeling like you're not doing well. So one way that we are going to begin talking about trauma recovery is acceptance. So one step that you need to do if you are traumatized, because we continue in the next session, is to accept that trauma indeed happened to you. And how do you know you're traumatized? There are 4 ways of knowing it. Whatever incident it is, name it. So you will find yourself avoiding it, avoiding everything about that incident. You will find yourself getting so stressed up or hypersensitive, hyper-stressed when you remember about that incident or incidences. You may also find yourself replaying like a movie everything that happened to you that really disturbed you. It keeps replaying in your dreams, replaying in your daily life, replaying in relationships, replaying everywhere. And finally, which is very dangerous, we have very many people diagnosed for depression, but ideally it is the 4th response to a traumatic incident, having persistent, recurrent negative emotions or feelings and cognitions or thoughts. So we're gonna continue in our next session coming Saturday. Kindly stay tuned and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Sasun GITAU, and we see how we really heal from trauma, whether childhood, teenage, or adulthood. You deserve the best. Thank you.